Crash Bandicoot Warped!
Hey guys, and welcome back to my Let's Play of the Crash Bandicoot N.Sane Trilogy. We have completed Crash Bandicoot. We have completed Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. But there is still one final game left to complete. This is Crash Bandicoot 3, Warped! The last platformer Crash game to be developed by Naughty Dog. They did still make Crash Team Racing, but this was the last of the platformers, and this is widely considered to be the greatest Crash Bandicoot game of all time. I will definitely disagree with that, but, well, the N.Sane Trilogy I definitely say is the better version, because I actually like this version of Crash Bandicoot Warped. This is there. I don't know why this is there. If you press the square button. Anyway, let us begin a new game. Yes, I will overwrite. I don't know what happened to 4 save slots like they used to have. Why don't games have multiple save slots anymore? Stupid. Why can't we have them anymore? We still got these long loading screens though. Nothing's changed here.
Free at last. Uka Uka is free? No, it cannot be. Evil, great evil has come. None have dared fail the great Uka Uka even once. But you, Cortex, you have failed me twice! Great Uka Uka! It was that infernal Bandicoot! From deep inside my dental prison, I sent you simple instructions to follow. But you lost the gems, you lost the crystals, and I have lost my patience. There is now no other power source left on this planet. I know we've had a few unfortunate setbacks. And failed. But since your bumbling has managed to set me free, I am feeling generous. There is still a way to amass the power needed to enslave this miserable planet. And this time, the great Uka Uka will make sure that you do it right. After many eons, my evil twin brother, Uka Uka, has been freed from his underground prison. Long ago, I locked him there to protect the world from his malice. Now, free once again, he must be stopped. Children, Uka Uka and Cortex plan to use this time-twisting machine to gather crystals that lay scattered across time. I have brought you here to recover the crystals before they do. To open the time portal, simply stand on a button and then jump into the portal. Good luck.
So there we go. This is our hub world, the Time Twister. Few things that were established there. Firstly, Uka Uka now actually has a voice and a personality. Just came out of nowhere, that. I mean, apparently the instruction manual states that he does speak to Crash, but that's the most we ever get in the game, and because she's already here, we can immediately go over and interact with Coco. You want her to join your adventure? Yes, well, she has to for several levels. I will say though, although I do like that cutscene in terms of like the door closing in front of Crash, Uka Uka that it had like a shadowy figure in the original game, it definitely looked more intimidating than that. But I do like how Entropy actually comes out of the portal there. I mean, you sort of see him in like the background.
Crash, crash, crash. Why must you always muck in my mud? Oh, look! I have a mask helping me, too. We will find out which one is more powerful soon enough.
I do like how Entropy comes out of the portal. Like, instead of just having the shadow figure in the background, like, I can actually see that he is the creator. He's like some sort of Time Lord. Because he's the one that made this new character, Dr. Nefarious Tropy, or Entropy. He's the creator of the Time Twister machine thingy-majig. So because Crash has already collected all of the crystals, and we don't know what happened to them, there are no more crystals. So instead we have to go back to when the crystals were around in earlier points of time. And so every single level in Crash 3 is based on a different time period. Except for one. There's one set of levels, which we'll get to later, where I really don't see how it's even time travel. I can easily believe it's in the present day. But I mean, I guess it's still technically a time period, isn't it? New to this game, slot boxes. After they will start to spin faster and faster. In the original they just changed what kind of box it was. Here they actually spin. And eventually they just become a steel iron crate that you can no longer break, and as such you've missed out on the gem. Crash 3 changes quite a few things. It's still the same basic formula, but there's a lot more gimmicks this time around. Yeah, that's like where my argument would be with like how everyone says Wrath of Cortex is Crash 3, but with just like a lot more vehicles. But I would just say that I could see the exact same thing for Crash 2. For Crash 3 compared to Crash 2, it's not as bad, but there's still a lot more platforming in this game. But there's so many other gimmicks that you do in this game. And this is the game that would introduce power-ups. We don't have any at this point, so at the moment we get Crash's moveset is exactly the same as it was in Crash 2. If you're playing the original game, however, every version of Crash 3 has analog control, which is fine by me. I can't help but feel, though, in the original, Crash's jumps just don't quite feel the same. Like, I frequently find myself, like, not jumping far enough, or jumping right over a box I'm just trying to jump on. Like, if I approach a checkpoint here, I can do that quite easily here. I wouldn't be able to do that so easily in the original. And I don't know what it is. It only seems to be something in Crash 3, and it seems to be the only thing in Crash 3 I find to be any different. That was not how I intended to do that. Watch out for these guys. They are pathetic. Gathering crystals just like before. So at the moment, everything is the same, and this is one of 3 medieval levels in the game. This one was called Toad Village. Simple beginner level, as you would expect. No nitro crates in the level at all. All very simple. And this was also the game that introduced us to relics and time trials. In the N.Sane Trilogy, they're across all 3 games, but they initially started here. And just to show, I'm going to be collecting all the relics off screen, because in this game they are actually required to get the good ending, which is padding in my mind. But they are required, unfortunately, in this game. And to get the final gem, you need to get all the gold relics. But I can't. It is possible in the original to get most of the gold relics before getting the speed shoes. It's very difficult.
Crash, Coco. If you have already retrieved a levels crystal, then you will find a floating clock when you enter for the 2nd time. This floating clock activates time trial mode. Grab it and the clock will start ticking. Race for the end to get the best time, but beware, some elements will change.
So yeah, I'm not going to bother. that was really all I wanted to show off. Just that little thing with Uka Uka. Just so you know it's there. I will say though, I find Uka Uka's voice to be really weird in the N.Sane Trilogy. It's like, it's Greg Eagles as opposed to whoever Uka Uka's original voice was. And it's like Greg Eagles is trying to do his best impersonation of him. But you can still hear Greg Eagles' voice in it. So it's sort of like a combination of the two, and it sounds really weird. Not as weird as just hearing Greg Eagles by himself, though, because if you listen to Crash of the Titans and Mind of a Mutant, Greg Eagles is the voice of Grim in Billy and Mandy, and it's Grim. 1-to-1. It's just Grim. It's so weird. Alright, here's our first gimmicky level, Under Pressure. One of 2 scuba diving levels in the game, and I'm going to be saying this a lot. Something that returns in Wrath of Cortex. Well, I've said it a lot already, and this is no exception. This is also brought back in Wrath of Cortex. It controls a hell of a lot better in Wrath of Cortex. And while it's not so much of a problem here, the scuba diving in the original Crash 3 I thought was pretty bad. Like the jetpack in Crash 2, the collision detection for the scuba diving I thought was quite bad. Like, I would frequently get stuck on things, including the hazardous stuff like these. These things are electrical. I think you can touch the underside of it, the bit that isn't electrified. I'm not going to bother. And aside from these giant carnivorous moray eels, I don't see what's prehistoric about this. Like any like tiny. I'm guessing it's supposed to be like a prehistoric sea, but I just look at this and I can just see like modern day. You'd think they would have added something that makes it give off like a prehistoric vibe, like maybe an ammonite or a trilobite or some sort of giant cone-shelled squid. I forget what the name. I want to say belemnite. I'm not sure, but so yeah, we're not in like some sort of Silurian, Ordovician, Jurassic Sea or anything like that. It just looks like modern day. I mean, there's freaky moray eels, but moray eels live in the present day. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to both of these levels, you've really got to hold on to this thing. You press X or square to shoot, and if you press the circle button, you can perform a dash, which I don't like doing because I can't see what's coming up ahead, but you need this thing to break open these corals, which somehow have boxes inside. And then Crash will just instantly let go immediately, just like that. You have got to be careful when spinning when you're scuba diving, because it will propel you forward, as you can also do by tapping the X button. It doesn't do it as much, but it does propel you forward. It gets quite tiring, unfortunately. They're pretty much mandatory to do for the time trials. But thankfully this does control much better than the original Crash 3, and again the collision detection is also much better than the original Crash 3. So here the scuba diving isn't that bad. It's a lot easier than regular scuba diving. I scuba dive. I can assure you this is a lot easier. I wish I had one of these things though. Yeah, there's not many enemies in these levels. You have these mine things. You have sharks, which do look pretty scary in this version. You have pufferfish. And you have moray eels. So, okay, I'd take that back. That's quite a lot of enemies, actually. And later on, we'll get these weird fan things which can create underwater whirlpools that can suck you in. But that's it. In this version, I don't mind the scuba diving. It's actually pretty good. I can't say the same for all of the gimmicks in this version of the game, though. There are some which I don't feel have been improved at all, and some that I think are actually a bit worse. This is one that I don't feel is really improved at all. Orient Express. This is the return of the animal riding level. This time it's with Coco, and she's although we saw Polar at the beginning of the game, all of a sudden we now have a tiger, which goes by the name of Pura. And this game's animal riding levels. There's only 2 though. Now if we were playing the original Crash 3, this is the most we'd be able to control Coco on foot. She's relegated to gimmick levels. And if we were playing as her, she would jump like twice as high as this. Her jump is like the equivalent of Crash's double jump. It's really high, but she can only walk really slowly. Here, you know, it's just her standard movement because we can actually play as her. You can hold down the button to do a sprint. It's actually a sprint this time rather than just a dash from Crash 2. And although the game doesn't really tell you about it, you need to do that in order to get past some of these barrels. And that's something I didn't want to do, which means I have to sacrifice my double Uka Uka that I've been holding on to since Toad Village. That's the problem with these levels though. You do have they're very they're trial and error, and just like the Warthog and the Polar Bear. And you gotta know which of those ramps you need to take. There are some times where you need to avoid the ramp, and sometimes where you need to jump on the ramp. Well, you don't need to jump on it, you just gotta touch it. And that's how you get to the higher level. And again, collision detection in the original version of this game could be a bit weird. Like, if so much as pure as foot touches the wall there, then that will cause Coco to fall off, and then you die. I don't know, it's like she commits suicide or something off screen. In this version, she just gets angry, like she just gets frustrated at Pura. Which I think she does do for certain animations in the original. Yeah, that part is quite difficult when you're sprinting. I hate these levels when it comes to getting relics. Because there's one level, I think it's the next one, where you need to, at least in the original, I think here as well, to get even the gold relic. Or maybe not the gold relic, but definitely the platinum relic, you actually are required to take a hit. Which is design I never like. That's very simple. I hear for those who have played like the original Crash 3 so much, it has put them off both this and the polar bear. Because the animation is much smoother and it like throws them off. I don't have a problem with it. That's probably because I haven't played the originals that much. But yeah, that level is very trial and error. If you miss something, you'll have to die. And our next level, Boneyard. Right, these are the levels that I'm not a fan of.
Uka Uka and Cortex want Tiny get crystals and bring them to big Coliseum in Rome. Crash! Leave them for Tiny, or Crash get crashed!
Yeah, these are the levels that I'm not a fan of. Now, there's a red gem path. I think there are boxes on that path, so I don't think we can get the box gem yet. And this will apply to the second prehistoric level as well, and Crash 3 does not improve one particular thing in Crash 2, and that is backtracking. It's just as bad here as it was there. There's no ice physics, but there is a level in this game called Future Frenzy, and it is right on the level of Cold Hard Crash because you're backtracking so much in 3D, so you're backtracking against the camera. At least Cold Hard Crash, you were in 2D. You had the ice physics, but you were in 2D. So this is our chase up, and it's such a shame that these are some of my least favourite in the game, because I love dinosaurs. I really shouldn't bother with that, because the Triceratops breaks them for me. I love dinosaurs. I've been obsessed with them my whole life. And yet these are the levels I don't like, and it's because in these chase sequences, the camera is just so close to Crash. Compared to Crash 1, where it would constantly move, so that you could get a better chance of seeing what was up ahead. They sort of made it a bit closer to Crash in the second game, and then they brought it even closer to him in this game. And there are moments where you have to do a double jump later on when you unlock it to get over some of the lava pits. Oh, I wasn't paying attention to him then. But you can't tell that you need to double jump over them. You've been single jumping over them for so long, and then you suddenly get a double jump one, but you're not going to know that until you're in the air. And because the double jump can only be done when you're ascending, you're really not going to know about it until you get hit by the lava, which, in the likely case you don't have a mask, you're going to die. And there are moments where you have these little bits of water which will propel Crash forward a little bit. They're not like the speed boosters in Crash 2, they don't do it so fast, but they propel Crash forwards, and it's very possible to overtake the camera, and then you really can't see what's coming. So if there's anything like a lava pit or a pteranodon, then you're gonna hit it, and that's why I don't like these chase levels. I mean, the rest of the levels are fine. I mean, this is definitely the better of the two, because the other dinosaur level has you backtracking against the camera. There are quite a number of levels in this game where you are backtracking. I don't think there's as many as there is in Crash 2, but the times where you are backtracking are just as bad. I mean, you don't have any bees coming towards you, so that's a plus. But there's still a number of levels where you're backtracking, and only one of them is 2D, and even then it's a scuba diving level, so it really isn't any problem. But every other level that you have to backtrack in this game is 3D. And that's what makes it such a pain. But my big question is, why is a Triceratops chasing us? Oh, come on. It's funnier with Mario. There's no ah ha 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 ha. But Triceratops was a vegetarian. They ate plants. Why are we being chased by a Triceratops? We didn't do anything, and if he hits us, he laughs. Just like the polar bear. Why are we being chased by a herbivorous species? If it was a T-Rex, I would get it. Oh, there is a gem. Okay. It's just a gem on the other pathway. On the gem path, then. Look at the time. I'm gonna just make this like one slightly longer part. I'll try not to do that for everyone, just for the sake of uploading times. But I may as well just do the last level and the boss, which I believe, yeah, there's our other gem. I believe is a jet ski level. Yes, it is. Making apostrophe waves. It's another Coco stage. Most gimmicks in this game are Coco. Crash has the motorbike. Pretty much everything else is Coco. She has the animal riding levels. She has the jet ski levels. Oh no, we have the scuba diving levels for Crash. And I think that's all of them. But anyway, the jet ski. This is often considered to be the one that has not benefited from the N.Sane Trilogy. It's much heavier in this game. I mean, it's more realistic, I think. I've never been on a jet ski. But it is much heavier. Like, turning is so much slower. It's much... I think it is faster. I think it does help with the time trials, but for, like, trying to break all the boxes and everything, it's much more difficult just because of how much slower it turns. Like, that I could have done, like, a near... pretty much a 180 when I did that turn there, but I can't do that here. And it's a real problem on the ramps, because wherever you are on the ramps, whatever direction you're facing, that's how Coco's going to go off the ramps. Whereas in the original, it wasn't perfect, but it would often try and just like center you into the ramp, which it doesn't do here. So it's much easier to miss boxes. So when you're going for the time trials, it's much harder to try and get all the time boxes. On the plus side, it does make it a bit easier to know whether or not you're actually going to go over or under the boxes. Because one thing that this and the motorbike levels really suffer from is going over the ramps. And it's just like the game is selective on exactly how high you're going to go. There are some times where I would go right over the box, sometimes I would go right under the box, and this is if I'm going at max speed. So it's just up to the game. Anyway, you can land on them. There isn't really anything in the game telling you can land on them. You might want to think about avoiding them, really, but you don't have to. Oh, I did get it. I wasn't sure if I got it or not. And that's the end of the level. Unfortunately, this is easily the best one, because one problem with the jet ski levels is that they are really long later on. There's 4 of them. The last one isn't too bad. Well, I say last one. It can be the last one. One of them isn't too... The other one in the main area isn't too bad, but there's one that's a hidden level, which is an open level, and then there's one that just goes on and on and on. And it's perfectly possible to actually go to that one next. If I was to go back and collect 5 relics from these 5 levels, I could go... I would then unlock the hidden warp room, and I could play that level. But I'm not going to bother doing that. I'm just going to do that and then gather all the main relics and then worry about that level, all of those levels afterwards, which will mean backtracking for certain gems after collecting all of the relics. Because that would also include things like the next dinosaur level, because the yellow gem is in that hidden warp room.
Crash! Coco! Stole the pretty crystals! Tiny, take them back! In Gladiator Arena!
Crash, You know, I really am cross with you. I'm just trying to do my job, and you go around causing all this chaos. Alright, he was the third boss of the of Crash 2. He's the first boss of this game, Tiny Tiger. Very simple. He jumps around, does that, then hits him. Now he'll jump up here, and a load of lions will be released. Now what you can try and do is stand in this corner, and then everybody will then chuck a load of cheese at you, which does hurt you. I, on the other hand, got eaten by a lion. But they will throw cheese at you if you try and stand in this one corner, because initially, in the original game, you could stand in that one corner and just, I believe the term is usually thrown around as cheesing the boss. So they took that the literal approach, and you can now get, and they now throw cheese at you. I got killed by it again. The same lion. Oh, let's go. Yeah, that burp. Alright, so I'm going to stop showing that off now. That cheese will hurt you though if it touches you. And I do like how we have an actual audience this time around, compared to just like a load of 2D images in the original. I mean, they're all Cortex's lab assistants, but it's still better. You can spin into the lions, which you probably wouldn't immediately think of doing. You probably just think trying out and maneuver around them. Initially I did, and then I discovered you could spin into them. I don't think it was even something I discovered by that. It was just something I found out via YouTube. You can just spin into the lions. So I died twice on the first boss, but at least we can say there's an actual reason I did it. Even if it wasn't the way I expected to die. And if you are struggling for lives, you can grind here after you collect the Death Tornado Spin. So you do have to complete the third walk room first. But if you Death Tornado Spin into 5 lions, you'll gain a life. And I think you then gain a life for every subsequent one, I'm not sure. And all of a sudden they're cheering me on. And then you have Emperor Cortex up there. We never get a Roman level. This is the only time we ever get any sort of reference to the Roman Empire. Now we get the Super Belly Flop. Just pretty much increases the range a little bit of your regular Belly Flop. Same with Coco's Butt Stomp. She actually gets all the power-ups in this game. One thing this does better than Wrath of Cortex. Because in that game, Coco got the Super Stomp and she got the Speed Shoe. She didn't get anything else. But in this game, she actually does get stuff. She gets a Tornado Spin, she gets Double Jump.
Well done, children. By defeating Tiny, you have unlocked the gate to the next time travel area. Go back to the center of this time twister and save your progress if you wish. From there, you will see that the gate to the second time travel area is now open.
Did anybody else just see like a white flash appear on the screen there? I'll check it out and play it back. I don't see how anybody else could, just considering the fact that I'm the only one here. But anyway, that completes the first tier. We defeated Tiny. So now we've unlocked the second tier. I could go and get the relics and do the next jet ski level, but I'm not going to. We have another 5 relics. Coco's up next. And, well, I'll do all these ones out of order. Should I do that one next? We'll see. So anyway, I will see you guys then.